Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching His word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And I say shalom. And this is a recent news article that just came out. I brung it out as of yesterday when I was on the highways and byways teaching the words of Yahweh Shemel Shai according to the Holy Scriptures. And I just wanted to do a sit-down lesson on it. Since I mentioned that when I was out on the highways and byways yesterday, I spoke it in code. But this is a recent news article as of yesterday, 5:39 p.m. This is posted by Jonah Metals of Patch.com from MSN.com, and it reads: The You Know What groups declare National Day of HATE. Highland Park Responds. And this is Highland Park, Illinois. And it says police are stepping up patrols at local You Know What in response to a non-Pacific threat ahead of Saturday's National Day of HATE. And it says Highland Park police urge the public to report any anti-small hat or HATE motivated acts, including littering and you know what damage. State police call for vigilant and heightened awareness over. Sometimes this might be order out of chaos as well too. Esau, Edom love to push that narrative for this order out of chaos as well too. Keep that in mind. So Second Corinthians 2:11, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. So I just want to add that to that. It says, continuing on with the reading, it says, at this time, no specific threat has been made against Highland Park Small Hats community or the you know what. Highland Park city officials in a statement. However, the national HATE groups have shared a non-specific cause to disturb the propaganda posts on social media of the commit acts of vandalism. And it says the Highland Park unequivocally condemns the anti-small hat and the acts of HATE, standing in solidarity with the small hat community against HATE groups that aims to make individuals feel unsafe and unwelcome in their communities and house of worship. It said, according to a report from a secure community network, a nonprofit safety and security organization for North America small hat communities. The event will likely be limited to non-violent activities that are unlikely to affect the operations at the Small Hat Institute. Since it has not been centrally organized, a non-specific or location has been advertised. Historically, with the Edomite, Idumean, you know what, and other extreme groups have promoted these events online, encouraging a mass participations in an effort to conflict and amplify their memo impact. It should be noted online chatter surrounding the campaign remains limited, and we assess that in the past this will not likely be widespread event. And it says the Chicago-based network encouraged public not to confront anyone engaging of activities in the response to the day of HATE. Nothing the instigators had previously recorded in interaction for leverage or to create conflict. The Secure Community Network has been actively monitoring online chatter and has not located any threats or violence or mentioned a specific resident or commercial area. that may be targeted by this upcoming campaign. It said, giving the increase in widespread media coverage of this anticipating campaign, local enforcements in many jurisdictions across the country have been made aware of the planned events. In some areas have indicated that they will maintain an increased presence near the Small Hats facility. A community alert from the Chicago Police Department, District Place of Worship Safety Advisory teams called 911 immediately to report all suspicious vehicles, people, or circumstances over the next week. This small, this anti-small hat proposed event has instructed like-minded individuals to drop banners, place stickers and players, and vandalize by a way of graffitis and some of biased so-called activism. And it said these organizers required that the potential actions be recorded and or photographed to submit online. The Illinois state issued a statement Friday announcing there was no information upon which to take action and encouraging increasing awareness. The Illinois State an Intelligence Center has been communicating with community organizations and will continue to monitor all the intelligent platform. It says Oren Siga, if I pronounce his name right, the vice president of the Anti-Deflation League Center of the told the Small Hats telegraphic agencies the group first declared the National Day of HATE Crew 319 as a teeny low-base Idumeans crew that disrupt and engage of anti-small hat stunts. The 22-year-old Highland Park High School dropped out awaiting trial on 117 felony charges stemming from the July 4th, at the Highland Park Independence Day Parade had a historically of anti-small hats and the RACIST, if you know what I mean, online posts and publicly took part several protests around the North Shore after legally purchasing 5 guns. Last week, a South Southern man shot an attempt to kill two small hats men as they left the place where they the place of service where they go to a church service in West Los Angeles in separate incidents targeting them for wearing clothing and that identified them as small hats. It says, according to the federal prosecutors who have charged the 28-year-old Jamie Train, I believe he was a Moabite who did that. I had covered that story as well too, I believe like 2 weeks ago. It says with 2 counts of HATE crimes, punishable by life in prison over the shootings. Salaki about that. Bring out a scripture. Even though this is an order out of Kale, Esau, Edom trying to push this maneuver of this, but then at the same time you have the Idumeans still got that not liking the small hats, because even though they are, are Edomites, but from of a different nationality, because these Idumeans really don't get along with one another. But they both Idumeans, but they separate from one another, because the small hatters have that, they are under pressure by the Idumeans not liking them, and This is Matthew's 24 and 12. So these Idumeans, they got that division between one another. And you can bring that out of Mark 3 and 25. If a house be divided against itself, how shall it stand? Especially here in modern day Babylon. Even though we live in a melting pot society here in modern day Babylon spiritually, but the nations are separate from one another. Because, the small hats, they got their community. The Idumeans got their community. The Elamites, they got their own community. The Moabites got their own community. The children of Israel got their community. So even though we're living in a melting pot society, but there's still separation with especially here, especially in Chicago. It's nations got their own communities, even though they're even though Illinois is a democratic city and state, but you still have that division of everybody got their own neighborhoods. The Polish people got their own neighborhoods. The Mexicans got their own neighborhoods. The so-called African Americans got their own neighborhoods. The white people got their own neighborhoods. The small hatters, they got their own neighborhoods. So, that Mark 3 and 25 comes into play. If a house be divided against itself, how shall it stand? The divided states of modern day Babylon spiritually, even though this is a melting pot. But at the end of the day, all nations are still got their own communities. Like the East Indians, they got their own community. The Chinese, they got their own community. The Japanese, the Koreans, the Filipinos, etc. Even though we're living in a melting pot, a multicultural society, but you still got people in their own communities. That's why the scriptures had stated Mark 3 and 25. If a house be divided against itself, how shall it stand? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 12. And because the iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, right? Because in the latter days, people are going to have that hostility towards one another. That's why the love of many are going to wax cold in the latter days, And this is, look up the definition of iniquity. Even though this is online rhetoric from these Idumeans, have that hostility towards the small hats. But at the end of the day, we're still living in these days of the love of many are waxing cold towards others. That's still going on at the same time, even though it's just online rhetoric. Edom is trying to show this old eye to KO as well too. This is iniquity, a noun, immoral or gross unfair behavior, right? Because that's going to happen in the latter days. Immoral, grossly unfair, rude behavior. That's increasing in a lot of days, especially here in modern day Babylon. And that's going to increase more and more and more. The love of many, the love of people that used to have love for one another is going to wax cold, like the scriptures had said. Because the iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And there you got that separation between those Idumeans, the small hatters, and the Idumeans, I'm going to bring out the 2 Timothy's, and I'm going to bring it out again. Matthew's 24 and 12. And because of the iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, right? The love of others is going to wax cold in the latter days, and that's what we are seeing. This is Salakia. This is 2 Timothy's chapter 3, verse 1. This know also that in the last days perilous times should come, right? And we're living in those increasing perilous times, Even if it's violent or non-violent rhetoric. And we seeing these things increasing in the latter days, Right. The definition of perilous adjective. In the New Oxford American Dictionary, it says the definition of perilous, full of danger or risk. Right, so we're living in increasing dangerous risk of perilous times, like the scriptures has said. Also, in the last days, perilous times should come. So we're definitely living in those times. Not too long ago, I believe it was over there in Baltimore. You had these two Idumeans, the Idumean man and woman. One was from Florida, and the other one was nearby from Baltimore, I believe. They was trying to take out a power grid. You know, and that community is mostly majority is the Israelite Judites. It happened about a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, I believe. I covered a story on that as well too. So these Idumeans, they got that perpetual not liking nobody, especially the small hats. You know, especially towards the children of Israel and towards the small hats as well too. So these things are going to increase in the latter days as well too. 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the latter days perilous times should come. Right. As I read the definition of perilous, risky, dangerous times. So we're definitely living in those times, even if it's non-violent rhetoric.
Yeah, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. Are you just on the phone?
No.
Are you recording something?
No. No, I was just looking at something like
Yeah, we got Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo.
Yeah, we sure do.
We got everything now.
Heck yeah.
And we got PCs.
Yeah, PC too. It all depends. Like, I think you can still play like a regular desktop, but I think you have to have the graphics card as well too.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. So yeah, Salakia about that. Let's talk to my brother. But yeah, back to the 2 Timothy 3:1. People gonna have that hostility and not liking one another. Especially the Idumeans towards the small hats. Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many are waxing cold, right? Because the love of many are waxing cold. You're gonna see an increase of lawlessness, increasing perilous times, and these are the signs of the times that we are living in. So with that, hopefully this sit-down lesson was edifying. I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem, Wakakadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. So as this recent news article that just came out, the groups declare the National Day of HATE in Highland Park, which is today. Even if this is rhetoric from online against the small hats, the Idumeans against the small hats, that still shows an increasing of the love of many are waxing cold towards one another. The love, people that had love for one another are waxing cold in the latter days. Like I mentioned again, even if it's non-violent or internet rhetoric to steam up these things, with online chats and stuff like that, for an prime example. But still, at the same time, you having that people are lover, waxing cold, lawlessness, perilous times. As the scriptures has said, of these things will occur in the latter days, and that's what's happening. Like I brought out 2 Timothy 3:1, because the iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Matthew 24:12, also in the latter days. Matthew 24:12, because the iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, right? And that's what we are seeing. These things are increasing,
You said where Alicia ended up moving into? I grew up there.
So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying. I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makarkadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom.